Hello there and welcome to the Sleepy Facts channel. I'm so glad you found your way here. Maybe you had a long day, or maybe you're the kind of person who likes falling asleep to the silent mysteries of mountain peaks rather than counting sheep. Either way, tonight's journey is for you. Let your mind relax, your breathing slow, and your body grow light as if walking through soft powder snow on a windless day. Because tonight, we're exploring snow leopards, creatures so elusive they are called ghosts of the mountains, moving through their high-altitude world with a silence that borders on the magical. We'll drift from their thick, cloud-gray fur to their solitary wanderings across frozen landscapes, discovering patience carved into muscle and bone. Some of what you hear tonight may surprise you, or at least spark curiosity as you drift off. Before we begin, if this helps you unwind, consider liking and subscribing, one sleepy soul at a time. Now, let's begin. The snow leopard lives in the mountains of Central Asia, inhabiting some of the highest and most remote landscapes on Earth. These magnificent cats make their homes in 12 countries, stretching across the Himalayas and surrounding mountain ranges, places where altitude climbs beyond 5,000 meters, and oxygen thins to levels that would leave most creatures gasping. The snow leopard has adapted to this harsh environment so completely that it seems inseparable from the mountains themselves, a creature born from rock and snow and wind. Their range spans from the eastern edge of Afghanistan, through the peaks of Pakistan, across the heights of northern India and Nepal, into the vast plateaus of Tibet and the mountains of Bhutan, reaching north into the ranges of Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan, and extending east into Mongolia and parts of China and Russia. They are animals of the roof of the world, dwelling where the sky feels close enough to touch, and the earth drops away into valleys so deep they seem bottomless. These cats are solitary by nature, spending most of their lives alone except for brief periods of mating or when mothers raise their young. Unlike lions that live in prides or even other leopards that occasionally tolerate each other's presence, snow leopards maintain territories that they patrol and defend from others of their kind. A single snow leopard may claim a territory spanning anywhere from 30 to 60 square kilometers. Though in areas where prey is scarce, territories can be much larger, sometimes exceeding 100 square kilometers. The snow leopard moves through this territory like a silent guardian, marking boundaries with scent and scrapes, ensuring that others of its species understand this space is occupied. The solitude is not loneliness, but simply the way of mountain life, where resources are scattered and maintaining distance prevents competition for the limited prey that can survive at these altitudes. The snow leopard's fur is among the most beautiful of any wild cat, a coat of soft gray marked with dark rosettes and spots that help it blend seamlessly into the rocky, snow-patched terrain of its mountain home. The base color ranges from pale gray to almost white on the belly, darkening to a smoky gray along the back. Each individual's pattern as unique as a fingerprint. The rosettes are irregular dark markings that break up the cat's outline against the complex backgrounds of stone and snow, making an animal that may weigh 50 kilograms essentially disappear when motionless. This fur is not merely for camouflage, but also for survival, each hair thick and long, growing so densely that snow leopards possess some of the longest and most insulating fur of any big cat. The coat grows even thicker in winter, adding layers of warmth that allow the cat to rest on frozen ground and move through blizzards that would send other creatures seeking shelter. This leads to something even more remarkable about the snow leopard's tail, which is extraordinarily long and thick, measuring nearly a meter in length and covered in the same luxurious fur that cloaks the body. The tail serves multiple purposes, each essential to life in the mountains. When the snow leopard rests, it wraps this tail around its body like a scarf, covering its face and paws to conserve warmth during the frigid nights when temperatures plummet far below freezing. The tail also functions as a counterbalance when the cat navigates steep, rocky slopes and narrow ledges, helping it maintain equilibrium in terrain where a single misstep could prove fatal. When the snow leopard runs or makes the incredible leaps for which it is famous, the tail streams behind like a rudder, making subtle adjustments that keep the cat balanced and stable even when airborne. The tail is so integral to the snow leopard's identity that it has become iconic, as recognizable as the spotted coat, a thick, magnificent appendage that speaks to the specialized nature of this mountain dweller. Beyond the tail, the snow leopard's paws are remarkably large for its body size, each one broad and furry, acting like natural snowshoes that distribute the cat's weight across soft snow. The fur extends between the toes and covers the pads, providing insulation against frozen surfaces, while also increasing the surface area of each step, preventing the cat from sinking deep into snowdrifts that would exhaust smaller pawed predators. These oversized paws allow the snow leopard to walk across snow that would be impassable for most animals, moving silently over terrain where each footstep is cushioned and soundless. The adaptations stack upon each other, each feature contributing to the snow leopard's mastery of its environment. Tail and fur and paws, all working together to create a predator perfectly matched to the challenges of high-altitude existence. While the paws carry the snow leopard across snow, the cat's powerful legs propel it across distances that seem impossible for an animal of its size. Snow leopards can leap 6 times their body length in a single bound, covering as much as 15 meters horizontally when chasing prey across steep mountainsides. They can also jump upward to heights exceeding 6 meters, using their muscular hindquarters to launch themselves onto cliff faces and rocky outcrops that would seem beyond reach. These extraordinary leaping abilities allow snow leopards to navigate terrain that offers no level ground. Their lives spent moving across landscapes, tilted at angles that would make walking treacherous for most creatures. The snow leopard flows over this terrain, like water flowing downhill, finding paths where no paths exist, landing precisely on narrow ledges, moving with confidence that comes from perfect adaptation to impossible geography. The snow leopard's chest is unusually large and barrel-shaped, housing lungs that are proportionally larger than those of lowland cats. This enlarged respiratory system allows the cat to extract enough oxygen from the thin mountain air to fuel the explosive bursts of speed and the long-distance stalks that hunting at altitude requires. Where humans gasp and struggle with altitude sickness above 3,000 meters, the snow leopard lives comfortably at 5,000 meters, and sometimes hunts at altitudes exceeding 6,000 meters, elevations where the oxygen content is barely half what exists at sea level. The enlarged nasal cavities warm the frigid air before it reaches the lungs, preventing the tissue damage that inhaling extremely cold air could cause. Every breath is an act of adaptation. The snow leopard's entire respiratory system, designed to thrive where the air itself is hostile to most mammalian life. Beyond physical adaptations, the snow leopard possesses a coat that changes with the seasons, growing thicker and longer in winter and shedding to a shorter coat in summer months. This seasonal transformation helps the cat maintain appropriate body temperature year-round, despite the extreme temperature swings that characterize high mountain environments. Winter temperatures can drop to -40 degrees Celsius or lower, while summer days in direct sun can become surprisingly warm. The snow leopard's metabolism also adjusts seasonally, the cat building fat reserves in autumn when prey is abundant, and relying on these reserves during winter when hunting becomes more challenging. These cyclical adaptations demonstrate how deeply the snow leopard is embedded in the rhythms of its environment, its body responding to seasonal signals in ways that maintain optimal function throughout the year. While seasons change, the snow leopard's hunting behavior remains patient and deliberate, a style dictated by the nature of its terrain and prey. Unlike cheetahs that rely on sustained high-speed chases across flat ground, snow leopards use stealth and ambush tactics, stalking close to prey before launching short explosive charges. The cat moves with extraordinary patience, sometimes spending hours creeping toward prey, each step carefully placed, the body held low to take advantage of every boulder and depression that offers concealment. When finally within striking distance, the snow leopard closes the remaining gap in seconds, powerful legs driving it forward in bounds that cover ground with remarkable speed. The hunt is not guaranteed to succeed, and snow leopards fail more often than they succeed. But when they do succeed, the kill provides food for days, allowing the cat to rest and digest before beginning the hunt anew. The primary prey of snow leopards varies across their range, but generally consists of medium-sized mountain ungulates, animals that have also adapted to life at high altitudes. Blue sheep, also called barrel, form a major part of the diet in many areas. These cliff-dwelling sheep providing substantial meals when caught. Ibex, with their magnificent curved horns and sure-footed climbing ability, are hunted in rocky terrain, where their agility is matched by the snow leopard's superior stealth. Argali sheep, the world's largest wild sheep, sometimes fall to snow leopards despite their size. Marmots provide important food during summer months, when these large ground squirrels emerge from their burrows to feed on alpine vegetation. Hares, pikas, and various birds round out the diet, the snow leopard being an opportunistic predator that takes what the mountain offers, adjusting its hunting based on what prey is available and vulnerable. Not all snow leopard prey lives wild. In areas where wild prey has become scarce, snow leopards sometimes hunt domestic livestock, taking sheep, goats, yaks, and horses from herders whose animals graze in the same mountains where wild prey once thrived. This creates conflict between snow leopards and the pastoral communities that depend on their livestock for survival, farmers and herders losing valuable animals to predation and sometimes retaliating against snow leopards to protect their herds. Conservation efforts increasingly focus on mitigating this conflict, creating programs that compensate herders for livestock losses, building predator-proof corrals, and working to restore wild prey populations, so snow leopards have alternatives to domestic animals. The conflict illustrates how human activities and wildlife conservation intersect, each side having legitimate needs and perspectives that must be balanced if both people and snow leopards are to persist in shared landscapes. While hunting occupies much of the snow leopard's active time, these cats also spend considerable periods resting and conserving energy. The cold temperatures and thin air make every activity metabolically expensive, and snow leopards have evolved to be efficient, resting for long hours between hunts. They seek sheltered spots among rocks or in caves, places protected from wind, where the sun's warmth can reach them during daylight hours. A snow leopard may rest for 12 to 18 hours per day, moving primarily during dawn and dusk, when prey is active, and when the slanting light creates shadows that aid stalking. This crepuscular activity pattern aligns with the behavior of many prey species. The predator and prey locked in rhythms that have developed over thousands of generations, each side adapting to the other in an evolutionary dance that continues across the mountains. Beyond this, there's another mystery in how snow leopards communicate across their vast territories despite spending most of their time alone. Snow leopards leave scent marks by rubbing their cheeks and bodies against rocks, depositing chemical signals that announce their presence to others of their kind. They also create scrapes, using their powerful hind legs to rake the ground, and sometimes urinate or defecate on these marks, leaving combined visual and olfactory signals that convey information about the marker's identity, sex, and reproductive state. These communication posts are typically placed at prominent locations along travel routes, ensuring that other snow leopards will encounter them. The messages left at these sites may last for days or weeks, creating a slow-motion conversation between solitary animals that rarely meet face-to-face. The system allows snow leopards to maintain spacing, avoid unnecessary conflicts, and locate potential mates during brief breeding windows, all without the need for direct interaction. The snow leopard's vocalizations differ from other big cats in ways that have puzzled researchers. Snow leopards cannot roar like lions, tigers, leopards, and jaguars can, lacking the specialized larynx structure that produces true roaring. Instead, they communicate through other vocalizations including hisses, growls, and a distinctive call called pruston or chuffing, a non-threatening greeting sound made by exhaling through partially closed lips. They also produce loud yowls during mating season, calls that carry across mountain valleys to attract potential partners. The inability to roar has led some taxonomists to debate whether snow leopards should be classified in the genus Panthera with other big cats, or in their own separate genus, a question that reveals how snow leopards occupy a unique position in the cat family tree, sharing some characteristics with big cats while differing in other fundamental ways. While vocalizations serve communication, vision provides the snow leopard's primary sense for hunting and navigation. The eyes are large and forward-facing, providing excellent binocular vision that allows precise depth perception, essential for judging distances when leaping across chasms or pouncing on prey. The eyes are adapted to function in a wide range of light conditions, from the brilliant glare of sun on snow to the dim light of dawn, dusk, and moonlit nights. Like other cats, snow leopards possess a reflective layer behind the retina, called the tapetum lucidum, which bounces light back through the photoreceptors, enhancing night vision and causing the eyes to glow when caught in light. This enhancement allows snow leopards to hunt effectively during low light periods. When many prey species are active, the cat's superior night vision, providing advantages that compensate for the challenges of hunting in dim conditions. The snow leopard's hearing is acute, capable of detecting the subtle sounds that prey animals make despite the dampening effects of snow, and the way mountain winds can carry sounds in unpredictable directions. The rounded ears can rotate independently, pinpointing sound sources with precision, allowing the cat to locate prey hidden behind rocks or under snow. The sense of hearing works in concert with vision, the snow leopard using both senses to build a complete picture of its surroundings. When stalking, the cat moves in near-perfect silence, its furred paws muffling any sound while its own ears monitor for any indication that prey has detected its approach. The stillness with which a snow leopard can move is remarkable, a large predator becoming essentially soundless, presence betrayed only if prey happens to look in the right direction at the right moment. Beyond sight and hearing, snow leopards rely on their sense of smell to gather information about their environment. Scent provides information about prey locations, about other snow leopards' territorial markings, and about changes in the environment that might signal danger or opportunity. The Jacobson's organ, a specialized scenting structure in the roof of the mouth, allows snow leopards to analyze scents in detail, particularly scent marks left by other snow leopards. When encountering scent marks, a snow leopard will often curl its lip in a grimace called the Flamen response, drawing air across the Jacobson's organ for detailed chemical analysis. This behavior provides information about the marking animal's identity, health, and reproductive status, data that influences the snow leopard's decisions about where to travel, when to seek mates, and which areas to avoid. While senses gather information, the snow leopard's intelligence processes that information and guides behavior in ways that demonstrate genuine problem-solving and learning. Snow leopards remember the locations of prey concentrations, returning to areas where hunting has been successful. They learn the movement patterns of different prey species, adjusting stalking techniques based on whether they are hunting nimble blue sheep on cliff faces or cautious marmots near their burrows. Young snow leopards learn by watching their mothers, acquiring hunting skills through observation and practice during the many months they spend together before independence. This cultural transmission of information means that snow leopard behavior is not purely instinctive, but includes learned components that vary between individuals and regions, each cat developing its own hunting style and territorial strategies within the broad framework of snow leopard behavior. The intelligence extends to the snow leopard's ability to navigate its territory, remembering the locations of hundreds of different features across dozens of square kilometers of complex mountainous terrain. The cat knows where water sources remain unfrozen even in deep winter, where prey concentrations occur during different seasons, where safe travel routes cross dangerous cliff faces, and where sheltered rest sites provide protection from storms. This spatial memory is essential for survival in environments where mistakes can be fatal and where resources are scattered and seasonal. The snow leopard carries a detailed mental map of its world, updating this map constantly with new information, each patrol adding data that refines understanding and improves decision-making. While the adult snow leopard moves through its territory with confidence born of experience, young snow leopards face a challenging learning period before they acquire the skills necessary for independent survival. Cubs are born in dens located in caves or among boulders, protected sites where the mother can leave them safely while she hunts. The litter typically contains 2 or 3 cubs, though sometimes as few as 1 or as many as 5 are born. The cubs are helpless at birth, their eyes closed, their bodies tiny and vulnerable, weighing around half a kilogram. The mother devotes herself to their care, nursing them and keeping them warm, rarely leaving except to hunt, and then returning quickly to resume her maternal duties. This intensive care continues for weeks as the cubs grow, their eyes opening after about 7 days, their coordination improving gradually as muscles strengthen and nervous systems mature. As cubs grow, they begin exploring the area around the den, venturing short distances under their mother's watchful eye. These early explorations are tentative, the cubs staying close to safety, retreating quickly if anything alarming occurs. Play begins during this period, cubs wrestling with each other and pouncing on their mother's tail. Behaviors that look like pure entertainment but actually serve important developmental purposes. Through play, cubs develop the coordination, strength, and timing they will need for hunting. Each play fight a rehearsal for future encounters with prey. The mother tolerates and even encourages play, sometimes initiating games herself, her patience with her rambunctious offspring seemingly endless. The play is gentle now, but it teaches lessons that will become deadly serious when the cubs eventually hunt for themselves. The cubs remain with their mother for 18 to 22 months, an extended period of dependency, during which they learn the complex skills necessary for mountain survival. The mother teaches by example, bringing the cubs on hunts where they observe her techniques, sometimes allowing them to practice on prey she has injured, but not finished. She shows them the territory's geography, leading them to water sources, good hunting areas, and safe travel routes. She demonstrates how to read snow conditions, how to judge distances for leaps, how to approach prey from downwind. The education is comprehensive, each lesson building on previous ones, the cubs gradually transforming from helpless infants into competent young predators, capable of surviving alone. When the time comes for separation, it is gradual rather than abrupt, the mother spending less time with her cubs, encouraging independence, until finally they disperse to find their own territories. The young snow leopards face significant challenges as they establish independence, searching for territories of their own in mountains where suitable habitat is often already occupied by established adults. They must find areas with adequate prey, with appropriate den sites for future reproduction, and with boundaries that older snow leopards will respect. Many young snow leopards perish during this dispersal period, succumbing to starvation, falling from cliffs, dying in avalanches, or being killed by older snow leopards defending territories. Those that survive to establish territories have demonstrated fitness, their genes carrying forward the traits that enabled their survival. The harsh selection continues throughout life, only the most capable snow leopards living long enough to reproduce and pass their advantages to the next generation. While young snow leopards seek territories, established adults maintain their spaces through regular patrolling and marking, ensuring that boundaries remain clear and that potential intruders understand the territory is occupied. The patrol routes follow predictable paths, the snow leopard using the same trails repeatedly, creating visible tracks in areas where the substrate allows. These trails often follow the most efficient routes between important locations, linking hunting areas to water sources to rest sites in networks that minimize energy expenditure. The snow leopard knows its territory intimately, each rock and slope and valley as familiar as the rooms of a house, this knowledge providing advantages that would be impossible for an intruder to match. The home ground advantage is substantial, the resident snow leopard able to outmaneuver competitors simply through superior knowledge of the terrain. The territory provides more than just hunting grounds. It offers the snow leopard everything needed for survival: food in the form of prey populations, water from streams and springs, shelter in caves and rock formations, and space enough to avoid encounters with other snow leopards that might lead to conflict. The territory represents a life's work, claimed and defended through constant effort. The snow leopard's investment in this space reflected in the detailed knowledge it possesses about every feature. Losing a territory means starting over, searching for new space in a landscape where good habitat is limited and competition is fierce. This makes territory defense serious business. Snow leopards willing to engage in confrontations to maintain their spaces. Though actual fighting is rare, most encounters resolved through displays and vocalizations that establish dominance without risking injury. Not all parts of the territory receive equal attention. Snow leopards focus their activity in core areas where prey concentrations are highest and where the most important resources are located. These core areas may constitute only a fraction of the total territory, but receive the majority of the snow leopard's time and effort. The peripheral areas are visited less frequently, serving as buffers between the core area and neighboring territories. Zones where overlap with neighbors is tolerated, because neither cat depends heavily on resources in these marginal spaces. This spatial organization creates a mosaic of intensively used and lightly used areas, the pattern shifting seasonally as prey movements and weather conditions alter where resources are most available. Beyond the boundaries of individual territories, some areas serve as corridors, routes that snow leopards use to move between territories or to disperse to new areas. These corridors are particularly important for maintaining connectivity between populations, allowing genetic exchange that prevents inbreeding and helps populations adapt to changing conditions. In many parts of the snow leopard's range, human development has fragmented habitat, isolating populations that were historically connected. Roads, settlements, and agricultural areas create barriers that snow leopards are reluctant to cross, reducing the effectiveness of corridors and threatening to divide single large populations into multiple small isolated ones. Conservation efforts increasingly focus on maintaining and restoring corridor connectivity, recognizing that isolated populations face higher extinction risks than connected populations that can exchange individuals and genes. While territory and connectivity matter at landscape scales, individual snow leopards also must deal with daily challenges of finding food, avoiding hazards, and maintaining body condition. The cold environment demands high caloric intake to fuel metabolism and maintain body temperature. Yet food is often scarce, requiring the snow leopard to be efficient in both hunting and energy use. Every movement burns calories, so the snow leopard moves deliberately, not wasting energy on unnecessary activity. When resting, the cat seeks locations that minimize heat loss, curling into compact positions, wrapping the tail around the body, using rock shelters that block wind. These energy conservation strategies are as important to survival as hunting success. The snow leopard balancing intake and expenditure in calculations that occur unconsciously but determine whether the cat will thrive or decline. The seasonal cycle of feast and scarcity shapes the snow leopard's year. Good times, when prey is abundant and vulnerable, alternating with hard times when food becomes scarce and hunting success declines. Late spring and summer bring new life to the mountains, prey species giving birth, young animals providing easier hunting than wary adults. Autumn sees prey in peak condition after a summer of feeding, their bodies fat and healthy, providing maximum nutrition to predators that catch them. Winter brings hardship, deep snow making travel difficult, prey becoming scarce or concentrated in limited areas. The cold demanding maximum metabolism, while food becomes hardest to find. The snow leopard must be opportunistic, taking advantage of abundance when it occurs, surviving on stored fat and occasional successful hunts when times are lean. The ability to endure periodic scarcity is as important as the ability to hunt successfully. Survival depending on resilience as much as on hunting skill. While snow leopards face natural cycles of abundance and scarcity, they also increasingly face human-caused challenges that threaten their survival. Habitat loss and fragmentation reduce the space available for snow leopard territories, forcing cats into smaller areas where resources may be insufficient for long-term survival. Prey depletion through overhunting and competition with livestock reduces food availability, making successful hunting harder and increasing the likelihood that snow leopards will turn to domestic animals. Climate change alters the mountain ecosystems where snow leopards live, shifting the zones where different vegetation types grow, changing prey distributions, and potentially reducing the extent of suitable snow leopard habitat. Poaching for fur, bones, and other body parts threatens snow leopards directly. Illegal trade, driven by demand, in distant markets where consumers may not even know they are contributing to species decline. Despite these threats, snow leopards persist across much of their range, and conservation efforts are working to address the challenges they face. Protected areas provide refuges where snow leopards can live without direct human persecution. Though protection is often incomplete, and even protected areas face pressures from poaching and habitat degradation. Community-based conservation programs work with local people to reduce human-snow leopard conflict, implementing strategies that protect livestock while also protecting snow leopards, creating economic incentives for conservation through ecotourism and other initiatives. Research programs study snow leopard ecology and behavior, providing the information necessary for effective conservation planning, using technologies like camera traps and GPS collars to track snow leopards and understand their needs. International cooperation brings together the 12 range countries to coordinate conservation efforts, recognizing that snow leopards do not respect political boundaries and that effective protection requires collaboration across borders. The conservation challenges are substantial, but they are not insurmountable. Snow leopard populations remain in areas where conservation efforts are strong and where local communities support protection. Some populations may even be stable or increasing, where prey populations are healthy and where human-snow leopard conflict is effectively managed. The snow leopard's future depends on continued and expanded conservation efforts, on maintaining and restoring habitat connectivity, on working with local communities to create conditions where people and snow leopards can coexist. The outcome remains uncertain, but the possibility of success exists if sufficient will and resources are directed towards snow leopard conservation in the coming years and decades. While conservation efforts work to protect snow leopards, researchers continue studying these elusive cats to better understand their biology and ecology. One of the greatest challenges in studying snow leopards is simply finding them. These cats being so secretive and living in terrain so difficult that direct observation is rarely possible. Early snow leopard research relied on tracking animals through snow, reading the stories written in footprints and sign, inferring behavior from physical evidence. These tracking studies revealed basic information about movement patterns and territory sizes, but they could not provide the detailed behavioral observations that researchers studying more accessible species take for granted. The snow leopard's elusiveness became its defining characteristic in the scientific literature. These cats, known as much for their absence from observation as for any positive traits researchers documented, the development of camera traps revolutionized snow leopard research, allowing researchers to document animals that would never be seen directly. These motion-activated cameras, placed along trails and at marking sites, capture images of passing snow leopards without requiring human presence. Each photograph provides data about individual identity, recognizable through unique spot patterns, allowing researchers to identify individuals and track their movements across multiple camera stations. The images also reveal behavior rarely witnessed: snow leopards marking territories, interacting with each other, and raising young, all documented by cameras left operating for months in remote locations. The accumulated images from camera trap studies have provided insights into snow leopard behavior and population ecology that would have been impossible to obtain through traditional observation methods. Beyond camera traps, GPS collar technology has enabled researchers to track individual snow leopards continuously, recording their locations every few hours and transmitting this data via satellite. The resulting movement data reveals how snow leopards use their territories, where they hunt, how they navigate terrain, and how they respond to seasonal changes. These collar studies have shown that snow leopards travel farther and use larger areas than previously thought, that they show strong fidelity to certain locations within their territories, and that they exhibit seasonal shifts in elevation, following prey populations as they move to different altitudes in response to changing conditions. Each collared snow leopard provides a wealth of data, its movements revealing aspects of snow leopard ecology that could not be inferred from camera trap images or tracks alone. While technology provides data, traditional ecological knowledge from communities that share landscapes with snow leopards offers complementary insights. Herders, hunters, and other mountain residents often possess detailed knowledge about where snow leopards occur, when they are most active, and how they behave, information accumulated across generations of observation. Conservation programs increasingly incorporate this local knowledge, recognizing that communities living alongside snow leopards understand these cats in ways that outside researchers cannot easily replicate. The combination of scientific research and traditional knowledge creates a fuller understanding of snow leopards than either approach could provide alone, respecting both modern techniques and accumulated wisdom, while working toward conservation goals that benefit both people and wildlife. This leads to something even more remarkable about how snow leopards have become symbols of mountain conservation, their protection requiring the preservation of entire ecosystems. Because snow leopards are wide-ranging predators at the top of food webs, their survival depends on healthy populations of prey species, which in turn depend on intact vegetation communities and functioning watersheds. Protecting snow leopards thus requires protecting the entire mountain ecosystem. From the alpine meadows where prey species graze to the cliff faces where they seek refuge to the streams that provide water for all species, the snow leopard becomes an umbrella species, its conservation creating benefits for countless other species that share its habitat, from the smallest alpine plants to the prey species that sustain snow leopard populations. The mountains where snow leopards live are not only important for biodiversity, but also for human communities that depend on these ecosystems for water, grazing, and other resources. The watersheds originating in snow leopard habitat provide water to hundreds of millions of people living downstream in major river systems across Asia. The grasslands support livestock that provide livelihoods for pastoral communities. The forests and shrublands prevent erosion and maintain soil stability on steep slopes, where disturbance could lead to devastating landslides. Protecting snow leopard habitat thus serves both conservation and human welfare goals, creating arguments for protection that resonate with diverse audiences holding different values and priorities. The snow leopard becomes an ambassador for mountain conservation, its charisma and ecological importance making it an effective focal point for conservation efforts that benefit both nature and people. Beyond their ecological and practical importance, snow leopards hold cultural significance for many communities across their range. In some traditions, snow leopards are revered as sacred animals, spirits of the mountains deserving respect and protection. In others, they appear in folklore and mythology, featured in stories that teach lessons about human relationships with nature. For some herders, snow leopards are adversaries that threaten livelihoods, yet even these relationships often contain elements of respect, recognition that snow leopards are also trying to survive in harsh environments. These varied cultural relationships with snow leopards influence conservation outcomes, shaping whether communities support or resist protection efforts, whether snow leopards are viewed as treasures to preserve or threats to eliminate. Effective conservation must engage with these cultural dimensions, respecting diverse perspectives while working toward outcomes that allow both people and snow leopards to thrive. While cultural attitudes vary, most people who learn about snow leopards develop appreciation for these remarkable cats. The combination of beauty, adaptation, and rarity creates appeal that transcends cultural boundaries. Snow leopards, fascinating people around the world who will never visit the mountains where these cats live. This global interest generates support for conservation, funding from international sources supplementing local efforts, attention from media and conservation organizations raising awareness and political will. The snow leopard benefits from its charisma, its photogenic appearance, and exotic habitat, making it a compelling focus for conservation marketing. While some criticize conservation's focus on charismatic megafauna as neglecting less appealing species, the reality is that flagship species, like snow leopards, can generate support that benefits entire ecosystems, protecting habitat and species that would struggle to attract attention on their own merits. Beyond their role as conservation symbols, snow leopards are simply remarkable animals worthy of wonder. Regardless of any utility they provide to humans or ecosystems, they represent evolutionary success, lineages that have adapted to one of Earth's most challenging environments, solving problems of survival that would defeat most species. They demonstrate the resilience of life, populations persisting through harsh conditions that test their adaptations constantly. They embody mystery, much about their biology and behavior remaining unknown despite decades of research. Their private lives hidden in terrain so remote and difficult that comprehensive study may never be possible. To know that snow leopards exist, that these ghost cats prowl mountains at the edge of the possible, adds something to the world that is difficult to quantify but easy to feel, a sense that wildness and wonder persist, even in an age when humanity has spread across most of the planet. While snow leopards represent wildness, they also reveal our impact on nature, their decline reflecting humanity's footprint on even the remotest landscapes. The threats they face are overwhelmingly human-caused: direct persecution and habitat loss, stemming from human activities and population growth. Climate change, driven by greenhouse gas emissions from industrial society, threatens to reshape the mountain ecosystems where snow leopards have evolved over millennia. Even in their remote mountain strongholds, snow leopards cannot escape human influence, their fates connected to decisions made in distant cities by people who may never see a mountain. This interconnection reveals a fundamental truth about the modern world: that no place is truly isolated, that all ecosystems are embedded in global systems altered by human activity. The snow leopard's conservation is not just a local issue but a global one, requiring action at scales from individual behavior to international policy. Despite the challenges, conservation success is possible. Some snow leopard populations have stabilized or increased where protection is effective and where local communities benefit from snow leopard conservation. Protected areas, when adequately funded and managed, provide refuges where snow leopards can live with minimal human disturbance. Conflict mitigation programs reduce livestock losses and build tolerance for snow leopards among pastoral communities. Anti-poaching efforts disrupt illegal trade networks and increase the risks poachers face. Prey recovery programs restore populations of wild ungulates, reducing the likelihood that snow leopards will turn to livestock. These diverse conservation approaches, implemented together in coordinated strategies, create conditions where snow leopards can persist, even in landscapes altered by human presence. The conservation is never complete, always requiring ongoing effort and adaptation. But the possibility of coexistence exists if societies choose to make it a priority. Among the most promising conservation approaches are programs that provide economic benefits to communities living alongside snow leopards. Ecotourism, where visitors pay to experience snow leopard habitat and possibly observe these cats through camera trap monitoring stations, generates income for communities, while creating incentives to protect, rather than persecute, snow leopards. Handicraft programs market wool products and other items made by local artisans, providing alternative livelihoods that reduce dependence on livestock and create value from cultural traditions. Insurance and compensation schemes reduce the economic impact of livestock predation, removing one of the primary motivations for retaliatory killing. These economic approaches complement regulatory and biological conservation strategies. addressing the human dimensions that often determine whether conservation succeeds or fails. While economic incentives can motivate conservation, genuine cultural change creates more lasting protection. Education programs work to shift attitudes towards snow leopards, particularly among young people who will shape future conservation outcomes. These programs teach about snow leopard ecology and conservation, often using the charisma and beauty of snow leopards to engage students and create interest in broader environmental issues. When young people develop appreciation for snow leopards and understand the connections between snow leopard conservation and ecosystem health, they become advocates who influence family and community attitudes. The cultural shift happens slowly, spanning generations, but it creates foundations for long-term conservation that are more resilient than approaches dependent solely on external funding or enforcement. Beyond this, there's another mystery in how climate change will affect snow leopards and their mountain habitats over coming decades. Current projections suggest that warming temperatures will shift vegetation zones upward in elevation, potentially reducing the extent of alpine and subalpine habitats where snow leopards and their prey currently thrive. The tree line may advance upward, converting open grasslands to forest, changing the character of habitat in ways that may not support current prey assemblages. Glaciers that provide reliable water sources are retreating across the snow leopard's range, potentially affecting water availability in ways that could stress both prey and predator populations. The changes are already underway, though their full implications remain uncertain. Snow leopards and their ecosystems entering a period of rapid change, whose outcomes are difficult to predict. The climate challenge is particularly concerning because snow leopards are already living at or near the upper elevation limits of available habitat, with limited ability to shift further upward if their current habitat becomes unsuitable. Unlike species living at mid-elevations that can potentially shift upslope as conditions change, snow leopards at the roof of the world have nowhere higher to go. This makes them especially vulnerable to climate impacts, their adaptation to cold, high-altitude conditions potentially becoming a liability if those conditions shift faster than evolutionary adaptation can respond. The concern is not just about temperature, but about the entire suite of changes that warming brings. Altered precipitation patterns, changes in snow cover and duration, impacts on prey populations, and shifts in ecosystem function that cascade through food webs. While climate presents long-term challenges, immediate threats from poaching and habitat loss require urgent attention. The illegal trade in snow leopard parts, particularly skins and bones used in traditional medicine and luxury items, continues despite national and international protections. Demand centers primarily in China and other parts of Asia, markets far removed from snow leopard habitat, where buyers may not understand the conservation implications of their purchases. Efforts to combat trafficking include strengthening enforcement, reducing demand through education and awareness campaigns, and promoting alternative products that do not require wildlife exploitation. These efforts show some success. Seizures of illegal snow leopard products, suggesting that trafficking networks face increasing risks, though the trade continues, and vigilance remains necessary. Habitat loss proceeds through multiple pathways, each requiring different conservation responses. Infrastructure development, including roads and dams, fragments habitat and creates barriers to movement. Mining operations disturb habitat directly, while also bringing human populations into areas that were previously remote. Agricultural expansion, particularly in valleys and on lower slopes, converts wildlife habitat to cropland and pasture. Urban growth creates development pressures in mountain regions, settlements expanding into areas that were once purely rural. These various forms of habitat loss add up to significant impacts across the snow leopard's range, the cumulative effect being a gradual contraction of available habitat and increasing isolation of remaining populations. Addressing habitat loss requires land use planning that considers wildlife needs, regulations that restrict development in critical areas, and incentives that encourage conservation rather than conversion. While habitat loss is permanent unless actively restored, habitat degradation represents changes that may be reversible with appropriate management. Overgrazing by domestic livestock, particularly when stocking rates exceed the land's carrying capacity, degrades vegetation and reduces habitat quality for wild ungulates that are snow leopard prey. Uncontrolled harvesting of shrubs and trees for firewood eliminates cover that prey species use and can lead to erosion that further degrades habitat. Water diversions for irrigation and other uses reduce stream flows that provide water for wildlife. These degradation processes can be reversed through improved grazing management, alternative energy programs that reduce firewood dependence, and water management that balances human and wildlife needs. The reversibility of degradation provides hope that conservation efforts can not only prevent further losses, but actually improve conditions for snow leopards in areas where habitat quality has declined. Among the success stories in snow leopard conservation are community conservancy programs, where local communities take leadership in protecting snow leopards and their habitat. These programs recognize that long-term conservation depends on local support and participation, that external efforts cannot succeed without community buy-in. When communities organize to protect wildlife, establish patrols to prevent poaching, regulate livestock grazing to reduce conflicts, and monitor snow leopard populations through camera trapping, conservation becomes embedded in local institutions and culture rather than being imposed from outside. These community-led efforts often prove more sustainable than top-down conservation programs, their success creating models that can be adapted to other areas and other species. While communities implement conservation at local scales, national governments create the legal and institutional frameworks that enable protection. Strong wildlife protection laws, adequately funded enforcement agencies, protected area systems that include important snow leopard habitat, and policies that integrate conservation into development planning all contribute to creating conditions where snow leopards can persist. International cooperation amplifies national efforts, sharing expertise and resources, coordinating management across borders, and creating accountability mechanisms that encourage countries to fulfill conservation commitments. The Global Snow Leopard and Ecosystem Protection Program, which brings together all 12 range countries, exemplifies this international cooperation, nations working collectively toward shared conservation goals that no single country could achieve alone. Beyond government and community actions, individual choices influence snow leopard conservation through mechanisms that may not be immediately obvious. Decisions about energy use and carbon emissions contribute to climate change that affects snow leopard habitat. Purchasing decisions about wildlife products create or reduce demand for illegal trade. Support for conservation organizations through donations and volunteer work provides resources for protection efforts. Political engagement and advocacy influence government policies that affect conservation funding and priorities. These individual actions, multiplied across millions of people, create the collective impact that determines whether conservation succeeds, reminding us that conservation is not just something governments and organizations do, but something that involves all of us. While collective action matters enormously, the snow leopards themselves remain focused on the immediate challenges of survival, unaware of conservation efforts or the threats facing their species. Each snow leopard simply tries to find food, maintain its territory, avoid dangers, and reproduce when opportunities arise. The cat does not know it is endangered, does not understand that its habitat is shrinking, or that poachers seek its fur. It lives in the present moment, responding to immediate stimuli with behaviors shaped by evolution and learning. The snow leopard's life is both simpler and harder than the conservation challenges facing its species. Simpler because the cat needs only to survive and reproduce. Harder because the mountain environment tests its adaptations constantly, every day, bringing challenges that must be overcome or problems that must be solved. The snow leopard's daily life follows rhythms set by the needs of hunting and the cycles of day and night. As dawn lightens the eastern sky, a snow leopard that has rested through the night stirs from its rocky shelter, stretching to loosen muscles stiffened by cold and stillness. The cat surveys its surroundings, eyes and ears searching for signs of prey or danger. nose testing the wind for information carried on moving air. Finding nothing alarming, the snow leopard begins moving along familiar trails, each step placed with care despite the familiarity of the route. The morning hunt begins not with sudden action but with patient searching, the cat working methodically through its territory, investigating areas where prey might be found, alert for any sign that might lead to a successful stalk. The search may take hours, the snow leopard covering several kilometers as it checks various locations where prey congregates or passes through. Sometimes, the cat pauses to rest, conserving energy while watching from elevated positions that provide good views of surrounding terrain. Other times it moves steadily, quartering back and forth across slopes, investigating every promising location. The hunt is a combination of pattern and opportunism, the snow leopard following general strategies refined through experience, while remaining ready to exploit any unexpected opportunity. When prey is finally located, the character of the hunt changes instantly. Patient searching, transforming into focused stalking, as the snow leopard begins the careful approach that might end in a successful capture, or might end with the prey fleeing unharmed. The stalk is the critical phase of hunting, where the snow leopard's camouflage and patience are most important. The cat moves with extraordinary care, using every feature of terrain for concealment, advancing when the prey's attention is directed elsewhere, freezing motionless when the prey looks toward the cat's position. The approach may take an hour or more, the snow leopard advancing just a few meters at a time, never rushing, always patient. The cat's spotted coat breaks up its outline against rocks and snow, making it difficult to detect even when not fully concealed. The white belly blends with snow, the gray back matches stone, the dark rosettes mimic shadows and variations in substrate. The prey may look directly at the snow leopard without recognizing the predator, its eyes unable to separate the cat from its background. When finally within range, the snow leopard launches its attack, powerful legs driving it forward in a burst of speed that closes the remaining distance in seconds. The acceleration is explosive, the patient stalker transforming into dynamic action, body extending and compressing with each bound as the cat pursues, fleeing prey across terrain that would challenge any other predator. The snow leopard's oversized paws grip firmly even on steep slopes. The long tail provides balance during sharp turns. The powerful legs generate speed that allows the cat to overtake prey that seemed safely out of reach. Yet, success is not guaranteed. Prey animals being adapted to escape as well as snow leopards are adapted to catch them. The outcome determined by the specific circumstances of each encounter and by elements of luck that neither predator nor prey can control. When the hunt succeeds, the snow leopard feeds immediately, if conditions allow, consuming as much as it can while the meat is fresh and before scavengers might arrive to dispute possession. A large prey item may provide food for several days, the snow leopard returning to the carcass repeatedly until it is consumed, or until it spoils to the point where even this efficient predator will no longer eat it. Between feeding sessions, the cat rests near the carcass, digesting and conserving energy, defending its food from any scavengers brave enough to approach. The cycle of hunting, feeding, and resting structures the snow leopard's life. Each successful hunt, followed by days when food is available and hunting unnecessary, these periods of abundance, alternating with periods when days pass between successful hunts, and hunger becomes a constant companion. While feeding occupies the snow leopard after successful hunts, much time also goes to maintaining the social landscape of scent marks and scrapes that communicate information to other snow leopards. The cat visits marking sites regularly, refreshing its own marks to advertise continued presence, and investigating marks left by others to learn about their activities. These communication posts become important features in the territory, places the snow leopard visits as part of regular patrol routes, locations that provide information about the broader social landscape in which the solitary cat exists. Though snow leopards spend most of their time alone, they remain aware of other snow leopards through these indirect communications. the scent posts creating connections between individuals that rarely meet face to face. The marking behavior intensifies during breeding season, when females advertise their reproductive readiness and males search for mating opportunities. A female approaching estrus increases her marking activity, leaving scent messages that inform passing males of her condition. Males, detecting these signals, alter their movements to increase overlap with the female's territory, seeking opportunities to encounter her directly. When male and female finally meet, their interaction is brief, the pair remaining together for just a few days while mating occurs repeatedly, then separating to resume their solitary lives. The female alone will raise any resulting cubs, the male contributing nothing beyond his genetic material, his role in reproduction complete once mating concludes. This pattern of brief encounters and solitary parenting is common among solitary carnivores, each sex pursuing strategies that maximize reproductive success within the constraints of their ecology. The female that successfully mates must then prepare for the demands of pregnancy and cub rearing, her body and behavior changing in response to hormonal signals that govern reproduction. Her hunting may become more focused on larger prey that provides maximum nutrition. Her movements may become more careful to avoid injury that could harm developing cubs, and she begins seeking suitable den sites where she can give birth in safety. The pregnancy lasts around 3 months, time for the cubs to develop to the point where they can survive birth and begin the long process of growth and learning. The female's body channels resources to the developing cubs, her own condition declining slightly as she diverts nutrition to support the new life growing within her. When birth finally approaches, the female selects a den from among several possibilities she has investigated, choosing the site that offers the best combination of shelter, concealment, and access to hunting areas where she can find food during the period when she must stay close to her helpless cubs. The den might be in a cave, among boulders, or in any protected spot that offers overhead shelter and enough space for the growing cubs. The female may line the den with her fur, pulling it from her own body to create soft insulation for the newborns. She gives birth alone, without assistance, trusting in instincts that guide her through the process her ancestors have completed successfully for countless generations. The cubs emerge small and vulnerable, entirely dependent on their mother for warmth, food, and protection. Tiny lives beginning in a hidden den somewhere in the vast mountains. The early weeks of cub life pass slowly, the cubs growing and developing in the safety of the den, while their mother ventures out only briefly to hunt and drink. She returns frequently to nurse them, her milk providing all the nutrition they need during this vulnerable period. The cubs' eyes open after about a week, beginning to see the dim interior of their den, their world limited to the small space and their mother's warm presence. They vocalize with small mews and chirps, sounds that strengthen the bond with their mother and that will develop into the more complex vocalizations of adult snow leopards. Play begins early, cubs pawing at each other and at their mother, these early play sessions being gentle and uncoordinated, practice for the more vigorous play that will come later. As weeks pass, the cubs grow stronger and more coordinated, their movements becoming less wobbly, their play more energetic. They begin exploring the den more thoroughly, investigating every corner and crevice, their curiosity driving them to learn about their immediate world. The mother watches these explorations, occasionally intervening if a cub ventures toward the den entrance before she judges them ready to face the world outside. Her patience with the cubs seems boundless, tolerating their claws and teeth during play, her gentle discipline teaching them boundaries without harming their developing confidence. The den that seemed spacious when the cubs were tiny begins to feel cramped as they grow, their need for space eventually overcoming their mother's desire to keep them safely hidden. When the cubs are about 2 months old, the mother finally allows them outside the den, supervising their first tentative explorations of the world beyond the only place they have known. The cubs are cautious initially, staying close to the den entrance, retreating inside at any sudden sound or movement. But curiosity gradually overcomes caution, and they venture farther, discovering rocks and plants and all the complex features of mountain terrain. The mother watches from nearby, ready to gather them back to safety if danger appears, her vigilance protecting them as they explore. These first ventures outside mark a turning point in cub development, the world expanding from den to den vicinity to gradually larger areas. As the cubs grow more confident and capable, the cub's diet shifts during this period from pure milk to milk supplemented with meat that the mother brings back from her kills. She carries chunks of meat to the den area, allowing the cubs to feed on solid food even before their teeth are fully developed for tearing flesh. This gradual transition prepares their digestive systems for the fully carnivorous diet they will eventually require, the change happening incrementally rather than abruptly. The cubs learn to use their growing teeth and jaws, practicing the biting and tearing motions they will need as adults. Each meal a lesson in how to process the food that will sustain them throughout their lives. As the cubs continue growing, the mother begins bringing them to her kills rather than carrying meat back to them. The family traveling together through the territory, the cubs following their mother and learning routes and landmarks. At kill sites, the cubs observe their mother feeding, learning by watching how to efficiently consume prey, which parts to eat first, how to deal with bones and hide. They also begin encountering other species, seeing prey animals for the first time, watching birds and marmots and other mountain creatures, their education expanding to include the diversity of life that shares their habitat. The world continues expanding, each new experience adding to their developing understanding of what it means to be a snow leopard in the mountains. While the cubs learn through observation, they also learn through direct experience, their mother sometimes allowing them to practice on prey she has caught but not finished. A young snow leopard learning to subdue prey is awkward initially, its movements uncoordinated, its grip uncertain, but practice brings improvement, each attempt building the neural pathways and muscle memory that will eventually make hunting second nature. The mother supervises these practice sessions, sometimes intervening if the cubs struggle, other times allowing them to work through problems on their own. The balance between teaching and allowing independent learning is delicate. The mother somehow knowing when to help and when to let her cubs figure things out for themselves. The months pass, the cubs growing larger and more capable, their play becoming rougher as they test their strength against each other and against their patient mother. By the time they are several months old, the cubs have transformed from helpless infants into small versions of adult snow leopards, their spotted coats grown in, their movements fluid and confident, their independence increasing daily. Yet they remain dependent on their mother for food and protection, their hunting skills still developing, their knowledge of the territory incomplete. The months ahead will continue their education, each season bringing new lessons about survival in the mountains, the cubs gradually acquiring the full suite of skills they will need to eventually leave their mother and establish territories of their own. The transition from dependent cub to independent adult is gradual and uneven, the young snow leopards taking their first solo hunting attempts while still returning to their mother for food when their efforts fail. These early hunts are learning experiences more than serious attempts to catch prey. The young cats practicing stalking techniques on prey that often detects them long before they get close enough to strike. Each failure teaches lessons. The young snow leopard learning to approach from downwind, to move more slowly, to use terrain more effectively for concealment. Success, when it finally comes, is exhilarating. The young cat experiencing the satisfaction of providing its own food for the first time. A crucial step toward independence that marks progress toward adulthood. While hunting skills develop through practice, other forms of learning happen more subtly. The young snow leopards are absorbing information constantly, learning the territory's geography by traveling with their mother, memorizing the locations of water sources and good hunting areas, observing how different prey species behave in different seasons, noting where avalanche danger is high and where safe travel routes exist. This knowledge accumulates gradually, built from thousands of observations and experiences, the young cats developing mental maps and behavioral repertoires that will serve them throughout their lives. The education is comprehensive, covering not just hunting but all aspects of survival in the mountains, each lesson contributing to the complex knowledge base that adult snow leopards possess. As the young snow leopards approach 18 months of age, their mother begins spending less time with them, gradually encouraging independence. She may leave them alone for days at a time while she hunts in distant parts of her territory, forcing them to fend for themselves or hunt cooperatively with their siblings. These periods of separation lengthen, the mother's returns becoming less frequent, until eventually the family group dissolves entirely, each young snow leopard now responsible for its own survival. The separation is not abrupt or traumatic, but rather a natural conclusion to the dependency period. Both mother and cubs ready to resume solitary lives. The cubs equipped with the skills they need, the mother ready to mate again and potentially raise another litter. The newly independent young snow leopards face a challenging period as they search for territories they can claim as their own. In areas where suitable habitat is saturated with established adults, finding vacant territory can be nearly impossible, forcing young cats to settle in marginal areas with fewer resources, or to wander as transients without fixed territories. These dispersing juveniles may travel long distances, sometimes over 100 kilometers from their birth territory, searching for unoccupied space where they might establish themselves. The journey is dangerous, the young cats crossing unfamiliar terrain where they do not know safe routes or good hunting areas, vulnerable to accidents and conflicts with established adults whose territories they cross. Not all young snow leopards survive this dispersal period, mortality being particularly high among dispersers that fail to find suitable territories or that perish in accidents during their wandering. Those that do survive and establish territories have demonstrated fitness through their success, their genes carrying forward the traits that enabled them to overcome the challenges of finding and claiming space in a landscape where good habitat is limited. The successful dispersers become the next generation of breeding adults, replacing older individuals that die and maintaining the population across time. The cycle continues, each generation facing the same challenges, solving them through the same combination of inherited adaptations and learned skills that have sustained snow leopards for thousands of generations. Beyond this, there's another mystery in how climate and habitat change will affect dispersal success and population connectivity in coming decades. If suitable habitat becomes more fragmented, with larger gaps between patches of good snow leopard habitat, dispersing juveniles will need to travel farther and through more hostile terrain to find available territories. This could reduce dispersal success, creating barriers to movement that isolate populations and reduce genetic exchange. The consequences might not be immediately apparent, but could accumulate over generations. Isolated populations becoming inbred, losing genetic diversity, and eventually becoming more vulnerable to extinction. Maintaining landscape connectivity is thus not just about allowing current movements, but about preserving the processes that sustain populations across evolutionary timescales. While dispersal and territory establishment are critical life stages, the daily life of an established adult snow leopard follows more predictable patterns shaped by the rhythms of seasons and the requirements of hunting and territorial maintenance. The adult cat knows its territory intimately, each hunting area and rest site familiar through years of use, the knowledge allowing efficient movement and optimal use of available resources. The territory becomes an extension of the snow leopard's body, space known so well that navigating it requires minimal conscious attention, the cat moving through its domain with the ease of someone walking through their own home in darkness. This intimate spatial knowledge provides advantages that cannot be easily quantified, but that manifest in hunting success and survival. The adult snow leopard's hunting patterns reflect accumulated experience, the cat having learned through years of trial and error which strategies work best in which circumstances. An adult hunting blue sheep on cliff faces uses different techniques than when hunting marmots on alpine meadows, the cat adjusting its approach based on prey type, terrain, and weather conditions. Experience teaches which times of day offer the best hunting, where prey concentrates during different seasons, how to read subtle signs that indicate whether prey is nearby. This expertise develops slowly, each hunt adding to the cat's knowledge base. Successful techniques reinforced, while unsuccessful ones are abandoned. The adult snow leopard is a highly skilled predator, its hunting refined through thousands of hours of practice into behaviors that are efficient, effective, and adapted to local conditions. While hunting skills improve with experience, physical condition changes across the snow leopard's lifespan, peak performance occurring during the prime adult years but declining as the cat ages. Young adults are strong and quick, their bodies in peak condition, capable of the most spectacular leaps and the most prolonged pursuits. As years pass, accumulated injuries, dental wear, and the general effects of aging reduce physical capabilities, the older snow leopard becoming less effective at catching the most difficult prey. Older cats may shift their diet toward easier prey, taking smaller animals or domestic livestock that requires less effort to catch. Some older snow leopards become less territorial, their reduced ability to defend space forcing them into smaller areas or into marginal habitat where competition with younger cats is less intense. The aging process eventually leads to death, the snow leopard's life ending through the failure of body systems worn down by years of use and harsh environmental conditions. Most snow leopards die before reaching extreme old age, succumbing to starvation. When hunting success declines below subsistence levels, to injuries that become infected or that reduce mobility to the point where hunting becomes impossible, or to diseases that their aging immune systems cannot combat. Death in the wild is rarely gentle, but it is natural, the passing of older individuals making space and resources available for younger animals. The cycle of generations continuing as it has for countless millennia. The snow leopard's body, returning to the mountain soil, provides nutrients that feed the plants, that feed the prey, that feed the next generation of snow leopards, closing loops that connect all life in the mountain ecosystem. While individual snow leopards live and die, the species persists, populations maintaining themselves through the balance of births and deaths, immigration and emigration, the collective surviving even as individuals come and go. At the population level, snow leopard persistence depends on demographic parameters: birth rates high enough to replace mortality, survival rates sufficient to allow most cubs to reach reproductive age, enough breeding adults to maintain genetic diversity. When these parameters are favorable, populations are stable or growing. When they become unfavorable due to excessive mortality or reproductive failure, populations decline. Conservation efforts aim to maintain favorable demographic conditions, reducing mortality through anti-poaching efforts and conflict mitigation, while ensuring that habitat quality remains sufficient to support successful reproduction. The population dynamics of snow leopards are complicated by their low reproductive rate and long generation time, characteristics that make populations slow to respond to both negative and positive changes in conditions. A population experiencing reduced mortality due to conservation efforts will not immediately show growth because the time lag between reduced juvenile mortality and those juveniles reaching reproductive age and producing their own offspring can be many years. Similarly, populations experiencing increased mortality may not show immediate declines if the mortality primarily affects juveniles or old animals that were not contributing significantly to reproduction. These lag effects mean that snow leopard population trends must be assessed over long timescales, short-term changes potentially being misleading indicators of actual population health. Among the challenges in assessing snow leopard populations is simply counting them, these elusive animals being notoriously difficult to survey. Traditional census methods used for more visible species are largely ineffective for snow leopards, the cats being so rare and secretive that direct observation provides insufficient data for population estimation. Camera trap surveys provide better data, allowing researchers to identify individuals and estimate population sizes using capture-recapture statistical methods. Genetic analysis of collected scat provides another approach, identifying individuals through DNA and estimating population sizes and densities. These modern methods have revolutionized snow leopard population monitoring, providing more reliable estimates than were previously possible. Though they remain expensive and labor-intensive, limiting how frequently surveys can be conducted. The population estimates derived from these surveys suggest that global snow leopard numbers are somewhere between 4,000 and 8,000 individuals, though this estimate carries substantial uncertainty due to the difficulty of surveying the species' entire range. Some areas have been surveyed intensively, while others have received little or no survey effort, leaving large uncertainties about how many snow leopards exist in unsurveyed regions. The estimate is concerning because it suggests that snow leopard populations are small in absolute terms, the entire global population being smaller than populations of many other large carnivores. Small populations are inherently more vulnerable to extinction, random events having larger proportional impacts, making snow leopard conservation a priority for those concerned with preserving Earth's biodiversity. While total population size matters, population structure and distribution also influence extinction risk and conservation priorities. Populations fragmented into small, isolated groups face higher risks than populations connected by dispersal, each fragment vulnerable to local extinction through demographic stochasticity or environmental catastrophes. Maintaining connectivity between populations thus becomes a conservation priority. Corridors that allow dispersal between fragments, reducing extinction risk, and maintaining genetic diversity. Identifying and protecting these corridors requires understanding snow leopard movement patterns, knowledge that comes from GPS collar studies, and genetic analyses that reveal which populations are exchanging individuals and which are becoming isolated. Beyond population size and structure, understanding the threats that different populations face is essential for prioritizing conservation efforts and designing effective interventions. Some populations face primary threats from poaching, requiring strong enforcement and demand reduction efforts. Others face threats from habitat loss and degradation, requiring land use planning and habitat restoration. Still others face primary threats from prey depletion or conflict with herders, requiring different conservation approaches. Effective conservation requires matching interventions to threats, recognizing that one-size-fits-all approaches are unlikely to be effective when populations face different challenges in different parts of the range. Among the conservation interventions showing promise are livestock insurance and compensation programs that reduce the economic impact of predation on herders. When herders lose livestock to snow leopards without compensation, they have strong incentives to retaliate against the cats, persecution that can significantly reduce snow leopard populations in affected areas. Compensation programs that reimburse herders for losses reduce these incentives, building tolerance for snow leopards by socializing the costs of coexistence. The programs work best when combined with prevention measures like improved corrals and herding practices that reduce predation risk. The combination of compensation and prevention, creating conditions where herders can tolerate snow leopard presence without experiencing unacceptable economic losses. While compensation addresses one source of conflict, prey restoration programs address another by reducing the likelihood that snow leopards will turn to livestock. In areas where wild prey populations have been depleted through overhunting or habitat degradation, restoring these populations can shift snow leopard diets back toward wild prey, reducing livestock predation and conflict. Prey restoration requires addressing the factors that cause declines, often involving hunting regulations, habitat protection, and sometimes active management like predator control or supplemental feeding. The approach recognizes that snow leopard conservation cannot succeed in isolation, but requires maintaining healthy prey populations, the predator and prey connected in relationships that must be managed together rather than separately. Beyond reducing conflict and maintaining prey, conservation also requires protecting habitat from conversion and degradation. Land use planning that identifies critical snow leopard habitat and restricts incompatible development can prevent habitat loss before it occurs. Protected areas provide refuges where snow leopards and their prey can live with minimal human disturbance, though effective protection requires adequate funding for management and enforcement. Habitat restoration programs can improve degraded areas, reducing livestock grazing pressure, controlling erosion, and allowing vegetation recovery that benefits both wild prey and the snow leopards that depend on them. These habitat-focused interventions address the spatial dimension of snow leopard conservation, ensuring that sufficient suitable habitat exists to support viable populations across the species range, while habitat protection and conflict reduction address major threats. Reducing demand for snow leopard products tackles poaching at its source. Education campaigns in consumer markets, particularly in East Asia, where most demand originates, work to shift cultural attitudes and reduce desire for snow leopard parts. Law enforcement efforts disrupt supply chains, increasing risks and costs for traffickers, making the illegal trade less profitable. International cooperation through agreements like CITES creates frameworks for regulating wildlife, trade, and facilitating enforcement cooperation across borders. These demand reduction and enforcement efforts complement habitat protection and conflict mitigation. Multiple interventions, addressing different aspects of the threat complex that endangers snow leopards. As conservation efforts continue, monitoring programs track outcomes, assessing whether interventions are achieving desired effects, and providing information needed to adjust strategies when results fall short of goals. Adaptive management, where conservation actions are treated as experiments whose outcomes inform future decisions, has become the standard approach in snow leopard conservation. This approach recognizes that conservation operates in complex systems where outcomes cannot be perfectly predicted, requiring flexibility and willingness to modify strategies based on what monitoring reveals. The adaptive approach is more sophisticated than fixed management plans, acknowledging uncertainty while committing to learning and improvement over time. While conservation organizations and governments implement programs, researchers continue studying snow leopard biology and ecology, each study adding to the knowledge base that informs conservation. Recent research using GPS collars and activity monitors has revealed details about snow leopard daily activity patterns, showing that these cats are active primarily during dawn and dusk, but with substantial individual variation in timing. Other research using genetic techniques has revealed population structure and identified distinct populations that warrant separate conservation attention. Studies of snow leopard diet through scat analysis have documented prey preferences and how diet varies across regions and seasons. Each research project contributes pieces to the larger puzzle of understanding snow leopards, the accumulated knowledge enabling more effective conservation. Among recent discoveries are findings that snow leopards show more behavioral flexibility than previously thought. Individuals adjusting their activity patterns, ranging behavior and diet, based on local conditions and individual experience. This flexibility suggests that snow leopards may be able to adapt to some forms of environmental change, their behavior showing plasticity that could help them persist in changing landscapes. However, flexibility has limits, and rapid or extreme changes may exceed snow leopards' adaptive capacity. Understanding the limits of behavioral flexibility and how different populations respond to different types of change is an active area of research with direct conservation implications. While researchers study snow leopards scientifically, these cats also capture popular imagination, appearing in documentaries, books, and other media that bring snow leopards to global audiences. This media attention serves conservation by raising awareness and generating support for protection efforts. Snow leopards benefiting from their charisma and photogenic appeal. The images of snow leopards moving through snowy landscapes create emotional connections that motivate people to support conservation financially or politically. The emotional resonance of these beautiful cats translating into tangible conservation benefits. The media representation also shapes how people understand snow leopards, narratives emphasizing either their endangered status and conservation needs, or their role as symbols of wild mountain landscapes, each framing influencing how audiences engage with snow leopard conservation. Beyond their appearance in media, snow leopards have become important symbols in environmental education, used to teach broader lessons about ecosystem function, conservation challenges, and human relationships with nature. Educational programs using snow leopards as focal species can engage students emotionally while teaching about food webs, adaptation, habitat requirements, and conservation biology. The snow leopard becomes a gateway to environmental education, its appeal making it an effective tool for engaging learners who might not otherwise be interested in environmental topics. This educational role extends snow leopard conservation benefits beyond the species itself, creating more environmentally literate populations whose understanding and values support broader conservation efforts. While education and awareness are important, ultimately, snow leopard conservation succeeds or fails based on what happens in the mountains where these cats live. The remote landscapes of Central Asia, far from most people's daily experience, host the ongoing drama of snow leopard survival. Each individual cat pursuing its own existence, unaware of conservation efforts or species-level concerns. The snow leopards simply live, hunting and resting, marking territories and raising young, responding to immediate needs and challenges with behaviors shaped by evolution and learning. Their persistence is not guaranteed but remains possible, the outcome depending on whether human societies choose to make space for these ghost cats in an increasingly crowded world. The choice to conserve snow leopards is ultimately a choice about what kind of world we want to create and inhabit. A world with snow leopards is one where wildness persists, where remote mountain landscapes retain their mystery and complexity, where predators still prowl at the roof of the world. A world without snow leopards is diminished, impoverished by the absence of these remarkable cats. Mountain ecosystems altered by the loss of a keystone predator, human experience reduced by the disappearance of one of nature's most beautiful and evocative creatures. The choice may seem abstract to those who will never see a snow leopard in the wild, yet it matters. Each extinction reducing the richness of life on Earth, each species lost representing evolutionary lineages and ecological relationships that can never be recreated. As we consider these large questions about conservation and extinction, the snow leopards themselves continue their ancient patterns, moving through the mountains as their ancestors have for thousands of generations. They are unaware of their endangered status, do not understand that they have become symbols of mountain conservation, simply exist as snow leopards, doing what snow leopards do. This obliviousness to their own conservation status is perhaps as it should be. The snow leopards focused on the immediate challenges of survival rather than abstract concerns about species persistence. They live in the present moment, each day bringing the same basic requirements: finding food, maintaining territories, avoiding dangers that have structured snow leopard life since the species first evolved. The continuity across generations, each snow leopard living a life similar to those of its ancestors, stretching back through time, creates connections to the past that are almost tangible. The snow leopard walking across a mountain slope today is engaged in activities essentially unchanged from those of snow leopards walking the same mountains thousands of years ago. The techniques for hunting blue sheep, the methods for marking territories, the patterns of cub rearing have been refined but not fundamentally altered across countless generations. This continuity represents evolutionary success, behaviors, and adaptations that have worked reliably enough to persist. The snow leopard, as living link to the deep past, embodiment of patterns older than human civilization. Yet while snow leopards embody continuity, they also face futures that may be fundamentally different from their past. The mountain landscapes that have been stable for thousands of years are entering periods of rapid change, driven by climate warming and human activities. The snow leopard's future is uncertain in ways that its past was not. Survival no longer guaranteed by the adaptations that sustained the species through previous millennia. Whether snow leopards can adapt to coming changes or will decline toward extinction remains unknown. The answer depending partly on the cat's own flexibility and resilience, and partly on whether conservation efforts prove sufficient to buffer the species against the challenges ahead. And now the snow leopards fade behind your thoughts, dissolving into the mountain mists like the ghosts they are named for. We have drifted through 100 quiet truths about these remarkable cats, From their thick spotted fur that insulates against mountain cold, to their oversized paws that carry them across soft snow, from their patient solitary lives to their devoted care for young, from their spectacular leaps across impossible terrain to their silent stalks through the high country. You are connected to this world. You share this planet with snow leopards, your existence overlapping theirs in this moment of Earth's long history. You are both mammals, both breathing air, both caring for young, both shaped by evolution's patient work across deep time. The mountains where snow leopards live provide water that flows to rivers, supporting millions of people downstream. The ecosystems the cats inhabit, offering services that benefit humanity even as we threaten those same systems. The fate of snow leopards and the fate of human communities are intertwined, neither able to thrive if the mountain ecosystems that sustain both are allowed to collapse. Tonight, as you rest, snow leopards continue their silent patrols across the roof of the world. In the Himalayas, a mother leads her cubs across a scree slope, teaching them to navigate loose rock without triggering slides that could carry them down the mountain. In the mountains of Mongolia, a young male rests on a sunny ledge, digesting a meal taken the previous night, his body extracting every calorie from the hard-won food. In Pakistan's northern ranges, an old female marks a boulder with her scent, announcing her presence to any who might pass this way, her message clear though silent. In Tibet's high plateaus, a snow leopard stalks a group of blue sheep, moving with infinite patience through terrain tilted toward the sky. Each step placed with care, the outcome uncertain, but the effort absolute. The snow leopards continue, as they have continued for thousands of generations, patient as stone, silent as falling snow, persistent in the face of cold that would defeat lesser creatures. And you are safe, warm, resting in valleys far below the heights where snow leopards dwell. They ask nothing of you except that you let them be, that their mountains remain wild enough to sustain them, that the prey they need continues to exist, that the persecution they have suffered might ease enough to allow their numbers to stabilize or grow. They are not demanding creatures, requiring only what the mountains have always provided, seeking only to continue the patterns that have sustained them across deep time. They are ghosts in more ways than one, difficult to see even when present, easy to ignore. Even as they fade toward absence, spirits of the mountains that could disappear while we look away, leaving only memories and photographs to mark their passing. If you are still awake, go ahead and watch the next chapter. Sleep well and dream softly of snow-covered peaks where mysterious cats move through silence, of spotted coats against gray stone, of long, thick tails streaming behind leaping forms, of patience measured in hours spent motionless, waiting for the perfect moment, of mothers' devotion to helpless cubs hidden in rocky dens, of survival earned through adaptation and persistence, of wild places still existing at the top of the world where the air is thin and cold and clean, where snow leopards still walk on oversized paws across drifts that would swallow lesser creatures, where the ghosts continue their vigil, patient and silent, and present for those with eyes to see. Good night.